Smoking causes cancer.
After the First World War, in the second decade of the 20th century, militant nationalism swept the country, but it did not much influence Bengali society enlightened by English education. Some awareness grew about nationalism among them, but the English-educated Babu community had accepted the policy of the moderates and submitted to the English for jobs or high positions in other professions. On the one hand was British repressive policy and the disillusion and frustration of the people, which poisoned the environment. And on the other, the upper middle classes were indifferent to the stifling of inspirations, and they chose the security of the establishment. Bishnu Dey's poetic talent blossomed in this stagnant ambience. Bishnu Dey was born in 1909 in an upper-class home in the College Square area of Calcutta, which could be called Bookland. His relatives were respected and affluent. They were all distinguished for their sophisticated taste, broad outlook, and education. His father, Avinash Chandra Dey, owned a firm of attorneys. From his boyhood, Vishnu got full freedom from his father to read and buy books. So, he grew up in his own way. In 1927, he passed the matriculation examination in the first division. And in 1929, the intermediate examination also in the first division. In 1927, Buddhadev Bose, then a student of English at Dhaka University, and Ajit Kumar Dotto jointly edited from Dhaka a magazine with a new vision titled Pragati. Bishnu Dey, who already had started writing poetry, collected poems and advertisement for it from Calcutta. In 1930, Bishnu Dey was admitted to St. Paul's College, and a new phase of his life began. At this college, some eminent teachers like Milford, Curtis, and Professor of History Christopher Ackroyd powerfully influenced him in various ways. Professor Ackroyd particularly opened up to him the romance of history, the depth of Marxism, and the impact of classical Western music. It will be seen that classical Western music proved to be the key to his poetic form and content.
We had an old hand-winding gramophone and 78 records, and so the records had to be changed very often. So usually I used to play the records for my father. He was very fond of Bach and Mozart and Beethoven. And when we used to go to Rikhia for vacation, we used to take that whole big gramophone and then all those 78 records, and then John Irwin used to send fiber needles and special scissors for cutting them. So we used to take everything, and sometimes we used to have 36 pieces of luggage. But he used to really enjoy the music in Rikhia, where it used to reverberate in the gardens. And then when he had during his last illness, when everything was failing, I would go to the hospital and play records for him. Now, of course, with long playing records and things like that. And he used to be so quiet when the music was there, and he used to tap his fingers a little bit. And in his poems, these compositions come very often, like the Mozart Serenade for 13 wind instruments, or Bach's Art of Fugue, or Beethoven's Gross Fugue, or Mozart's Clarinet Quintet. Rikhia was a rather barren place with a lot of undulations, and he used to love walking there and going there, and most of his very important poems were composed there. He took all these artists one time, Gopal Ghosh, Niraj Majumdar, Ramkrishna Pal, and Rothin Moitra, and they visited the Santhal Praganas, and he himself drew some pictures of Rikhia mainly, and Rikhia of course played a very important part in his life. Once I asked him what is a prelude and a fugue, and he very nicely explained to me that the prelude is the window and the fugue is the scene outside, layers of it, one after another, and then that comes in his poems. Beauty is inexhaustible truth, and to compose is to be a great good river, like Die Kunst der Fuge. And this is of course Art of Fugue by Bach, which he used to consider to be the greatest music ever composed.
His another sustained passion was painting, Jamini Roy in particular. A new revelation came to his life as he read T.S. Eliot's poems.
Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo.
Eliot's poetry focused on the emptiness and crisis of capitalist culture in Europe after the World War I. He exposed the decadent social life of England.
Corners of the evening, lingered upon the pools that stand in drains.
In the 1930s, Bishnu Dey was among the young poets who tried to come out of Rabindranath's shadow and evolved a modern mode of expression in Bengali poetry. Others included Jibonananda Das, Sudhindranath Datta, Buddhadev Bose, Omiyo Chakraborty, Shamur Sen, and others. Bishnu Dey was not among those who prided themselves on their revolt against Rabindranath. Later, returning to his fold. He was mature enough at an early age to recognize the role of tradition in the development of individual talent. The 30s marked the high noon of Rabindranath's creativity. Apart from contributing songs, poetry, plays and essays, he carved out a niche for himself as a painter, which revealed his inner soul. His exhibition of paintings created a stir in Paris in 1931. In 1931, Sudhindranath Datta published the journal Porichoy, and Bishnu Dey associated himself with it. At the Adda of Porichoy, he came into close contact with Sudhindranath, Jamini Roy and Satyendranath Bose. All three were abiding inspiration to him. Bishnu Dey's first book of poems, Urboshi O Artemis, came out in 1933. Beethoven Bose published it, while his father helped with money and encouragement. Bishnu was thrilled to receive 2 letters from Rabindranath praising his work. From 1932 to 1934, as a postgraduate student at Calcutta University, he got friendly with Jyotirindra Moitru, who had a profound impact on Dey's taste for music. Debobruta Bishwas was another close friend. Pranuti Roy Chaudhary was in his MA class and became his life partner on December 2, 1934. In 1935, he joined Ripon College as a professor of English. Here his colleagues included Buddhadev Bose, poet Ajit Kumar Datta, Hirendranath Mukhopadhyay, and others. Bishnu Dey was one of the 5 who contributed 5 rupees each in 1935 to start Kobita, a poetry quarterly which was a brainchild of Buddhadev Bose. The same year, his first daughter, Ruchira, was born. In 1937, his second book of poems, Chorabali, came out.
Yet this boldness, if you tear away old springs, gather songs,
Ophelia,
bits, these
from Chorabali.
Throw away the leafy shade by the riverbank trek. If you burn out this soft grassy sleep in mountainous cold, yet this boldness, yet I go on with the singing.
উদাসীন দেখো আকাশের গায়ে মেঘেরা ছড়ায় সোনা, কথারা আমার গৃহহারা করে ছায়াপথে আনাগোনা। হৃদয় তোমার দুলোকে বেঁধেছে বাসা, ঝোড়ো হাওয়া ছোঁড়ে কালো কালো বুনো মেঘ চৈতি পূর্ণিমাকে। আমি যে তোমায় ভালোবাসি, সে কি তাই শুধু ওফেলিয়া?
In 1938, his second daughter, Uttara, was born.
নয়নে তোমার মদিরেক্ষণ মায়া, স্তনচূড়া দিল ক্ষীণ কোটি তটে ছায়া। স্বপ্ন সারথি তরুণ কি যায় দেখা, অমর লোকের ইশারা তোমার চোখে, ক্রান্তি বালয় মিলায় সুমেরু লোকে। আজ কি আমাকে ভুলেছ মহাশ্বেতা? অমৃতের ঝাড়ি মোদির ওষ্ঠাধারে, স্মৃতি বিস্মৃতি শরতের ধারা ঝরে। আজ কি আমাকে ভুলেছ মহাশ্বেতা? শরীরে তোমার অলোকনন্দা গান, অচ্ছদনীরে করো তুমি যেই স্নান। স্বপ্নবাণীতে শিহরায় ক্রন্দসী, ভাস্বর তব তনুতে অমৃত জ্যোতি। প্রাণ সূর্যের একান্ত সংহতি, ক্রান্তিবলয়ে শিহরায় ক্রন্দসী। উত্তর করে মুদ্রিত বরাভয়, তামসিকে কর খণ্ডন কর জয়। স্বপ্ন সারথি তরুণ কি যায় দেখা, পশ্চাতে ধায় মরণ চাঁদের আলো। দিগন্ত ফনা তুহিন পাণ্ডু কালো, বিশ্বরণীর বালুতীর যায় দেখা। হে বীর অতনু নাচিকেত ধনু টানো, দেহদুর্গের রক্ষায় মোরে আনো তোমার প্রাকৃত বাহুতে মহাশ্বেতা।
The 1930s were stormy days which witnessed the rise of Hitler, the Spanish Civil War, and the start of the Second World War in 1939. During this decade, Bishnu Dey's thought delved into international history and rose to a new high. From 1939, he showed marked difference from Marxist thinking on art and literature. But his roots in Marxism strengthened. His Marxism was his own interpretation of it. On June 22, 1941, Hitler invaded Soviet Russia. So far, the war to local Marxists was an imperialist one. But their outlook changed with Hitler's invasion of Russia. The first and only socialist country in the world was in peril. The war became, in the eyes of the Indian communists, a people's war against fascism. On June 22, 1941, the Friends of Soviets Committee was formed, and they promptly joined it. On August 7, Rabindranath passed away. That coincided with the publication of Bishnu Dey's third book of poems, Purbolekho. Jamini Roy illustrated the cover, and the poems were dedicated to Rabindranath. Bishnu Dey's bond with Marxism reoriented his understanding of the poet. At the same time, Jamini Roy had come into his life in a very big way. Rabindranath's poetry made a powerful impact on Dey, but Purbolekho presented him as a Marxist and a communist poet for the first time. The modernity of Bengali poets in the 1930s asserted itself in their effort to distance themselves from Rabindranath and come under the influence of contemporary European poetry. Not just poetry alone, it was also impacted by advances in science and philosophy in the West. In 1857, Charles Darwin made a breakthrough with the origin of species. In 1900, Sigmund Freud published his The Interpretation of Dreams, which was followed in 1915 with his The Contribution to the Theory of Sex. In 1915, James George Frazer published The Golden Bough. Darwin's theory of evolution assailed the 19th century romanticism in literature. Freud highlighted beauty and sex as the elix of life.